We will begin shortly. Thank you for your attention and for being here on time. Thank you. To ensure a smooth and respectful learning environment, we kindly ask everyone to refrain from making noise or having side conversations. Thank you. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and warm greetings to everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rafika Aisyariwanti, and I am your Master of Ceremonies for today's event. It is a great honor and privilege to welcome you all to our public lecture held as part of the World Class University program at the Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University. Allow me to extend my respectful greetings to the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, Professor Dr. Alam Shah SSM Hum, the Vice Dean of Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, Mrs. Eta Farmacelia Nurul Hadi, SSM Hum, MA PhD, the head of the undergraduate program in Japanese Language and Culture, Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, Mr. Zaki Ainul Fadli, SSM Hum, our distinguished guest speaker, Ms. Ayumi Inochi, PhD, from Tsukuba University, Japan, as well as all lecturers and students of the undergraduate program in Japanese Language and Culture, Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, who are participating in today's event. Thank you all for joining this session. We are delighted to have you present as we engage in a valuable academic exchange today. Before we proceed to the main session, please allow me to read the agenda for today's public lecture. First, it's opening of the event. Second, opening speech for the World Class University Program public lecture by the first Vice Dean, Dr. Eta Farmacelia Nurul Hadi, SSM Hum, MA PhD. Third, group photo session. Fourth, presentation session by our distinguished speaker, Ms. Ayumi Nochi, PhD. Fifth, question and answer session. Sixth, symbolic certificate presentation to the speaker delivered by Mrs. Elizabeth Ikahesti Aprilia Nindiarini, SSM Hum, as the secretary of the undergraduate program in Japanese language and culture. And the final is closing session. Next, I would like to read out the rules and guidelines for today's World Class University Program public lecture. First, all participants attending via the Zoom platform must use their registered names as stated during registration. Second, participants are kindly requested to turn on their cameras and use the official virtual background provided by the committee. The background file can also be found in the Zoom chat. Third, for participants attending via Zoom, questions should be submitted through the chat box only. The moderator will select and read out the question to the speaker during the Q&A session. Meanwhile, on-site participants are welcome to ask questions directly during the Q&A session, which will be moderated by Mrs. Fania Pramudita Hanjani, SOS MSE. Fourth, we kindly ask all participants to show decorum and professionalism throughout the event. Fifth, the attendance link will be shared in the Zoom chat after the presentation sessions have concluded. That concludes the event guidelines for today's public lecture. We thank you for your attention and cooperation. Before we proceed to the main presentation, allow us to hear the welcoming speech. We would like to invite the first Vice Dean of the Faculty of Humanities Diponegoro University, Dr. Eta Farmacelia Nurul Hadi, SSM Hum, MA PhD. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. On behalf of the Dean of Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, I would like to welcome our sensei, Ayumi Inochi, PhD from Tsukuba University. Welcome to the Japanese Language and Culture Program, Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University. It is an honor for us today to have Sensei Ayumi Inochi with us to share her knowledge and lecture today. And the title is Pink Hotchpotch K-pop fan merch industry in Indonesia as transnational girl culture. It is fascinating to me, and I believe it's fascinating for all of us here, for the students especially, that something that we enjoy, something that is fun, can actually be part of scholarly activities. And we are going to listen more from Sensei Ayumi Inochi, PhD. So from Tsukuba University, here Japanese language and culture program is part of the sixth undergraduate program here in Faculty of Humanities. We have English department, Indonesian department, uh, library information science department, social anthropology, and also history department. So actually, we hope that this will be the beginning of the next collaboration. So we are thank you for coming here today and share knowledge with our students, and hopefully later also we can have research collaboration with our lecturers, not only from the Japanese language and culture department, but probably also from the English department. I'm from the English department. So, are you excited, all of the students here? Show your excitement. Yeah, sure. Again, this is something that is fun, but something that is fun can actually be scholarly, that we can actually do research and contribute to well, advancing the knowledge in culture and also in language through something that is fun, popular culture. So hopefully we can all learn more from the lecture today, and let's just get started. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eta, for your inspiring message and continued support of our academic endeavors. Following the remarks, we will proceed to a group photo session. So all Zoom participants, we kindly ask you to turn on your cameras for a brief moment so we can capture this special occasion together. Meanwhile, for those who are attending the event on site, please remain seated in your respective seats, as our documentation team will take photos from the room. We will first take a screenshot for the Zoom broadcast documentation. Once again, all participants are kindly requested to turn on their cameras. This session will be guided by Mr. Revaldo.
Well, everyone, before we do the photo session, please make sure your camera is turned on and make sure your lighting is good so your face is clearly visible here. Okay, starting from the first slide. Everyone take a pose on 3, 2, 1. Okay, the second slide. I'm starting in 3, 2, 1. The third slide. Everyone take a pose. And 3, 2, 1. The fourth slide. Everyone take a pose. And 3, 2, 1. The fifth slide. Everyone please take a pose. And 3, 2, 1. And the last slide. Everyone please take a pose. And 3, two, one. Thank you everyone for your cooperation.
Thank you, Mr. Rivaldo and Mr. Fatih. Next, we will take a group photo for participants who are present in the classroom. This session will be guided by Mr. Ahadi. As the photo session has ended, we have now arrived at the main session of today's event, the public lecture of the World Class University Visiting Professor Program for students of the undergraduate program in Japanese language and culture, Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University. This session will feature a presentation by our esteemed speaker, Ms. Ayumi Inochi, PhD, and will be moderated by Mrs. Vania Pramudita Hanjani, SOS MSE. But before we begin the main session, allow me to present a brief curriculum vitae of our distinguished speaker and moderator. Mrs. Vania Pramudita Hanjani, SOS MSE, is a lecturer and is a researcher at the Social Anthropology Study Program, Faculty of Cultural Sciences, Diponegoro University. She holds a Master of Science degree from the University of Indonesia and is active in the field of anthropological studies of gender and sexuality. She completed her undergraduate studies at Diponegoro University in 2019 and earned her master's degree from the University of Indonesia in 2022. Some of her notable research includes K-pop as a subcultural identity of Iconic in 2019, and in 2022, why the media often get us wrong, the public fantasies and media's portrayal of trans women in Indonesia. In addition, she has been actively involved as a field researcher in the area of gender and power at the Department of Anthropology, University of Indonesia in 2021. She has also been a speaker at various academic and public forums. Now, let us move on to introduce our talented speaker for today. Her name is Miss Ayumi Inochi, PhD. She completed her doctoral program at the University of Tsukuba in 2024, where she had also previously obtained her master's degree. Currently, she is undertaking a postdoctoral research fellowship at the same university. Dr. Inochi has also served as an adjunct rector at the College of International Liberal Arts at Chiba University and was a visiting fellow at Harvard University. Among her recognition are the Best Paper Award from the International Education Society of Japan and the support grants for international joint research activities from the Kajima Foundation. May I kindly remind all participants to remain quiet during this session so we can fully appreciate the presentation. So without further ado, let us now warmly welcome both our speaker and moderator. We kindly invite Mrs. Vania to lead the session. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. What's your name, miss? Rafika. Okay, it's been so nice that you have a very good skill on English. Okay, okay. Good morning, everyone, and I am here, and you can call me Fania. And I'm so impressed that you guys are so organized, and I'm so amazed. It's so different from my study program. If we held something even, so okay, here we are with Miss Ayumi. Okay, how are you, Miss? You've been so beautiful today. Okay. Well, hey, how are you, Miss? You've been so beautiful.
Thank you.
What's your skincare?
Later, Do you hear me?
Yeah.
First of all,
Okay.
everybody, selamat pagi.
Okay. Selamat pagi.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Ah, okay. So you are from Tsukuba University. Am I right? Spelling is Tsukuba?
Yeah, I am from University of Tsukuba in Japan. Tsukuba is actually in my hometown, which is a sovereign city, 1 hour train ride from Tokyo. It's a really beautiful city. If you ever have time, then please visit there. But may I say a greeting? May I have a greeting?
Of course.
Okay. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in this event today. And also, it is my great honor and pleasure to be able to have this opportunity to share my current ongoing work with you and discuss it with you. And first of all, thank you so much to the Department of Japanese Language and Culture faculty who organized this whole event and
Yes, it's
really
very
hyped
organized.
them. Thank you so much for your effort. Alison did so much for me. And also thank you to all of you students for attending today. Okay.
Okay, so we are here to talk about the Pink Hotspot, and I was a K-pop fan. And back there, I was doing a research for my under.
Not a K-pop fan anymore. You said you were.
A bit more. I am sometimes I'm talk about
Okay.
K-pop, and I really like NCT, and I was a fan of Icon and Day6. Maybe you guys know about them. Yeah, and I'm doing the research about how K-pop being identity for little subculture called iconic. So and now the pink hotspot is kind of interesting for me, and I was wrote your paper and talk with Miss RC, and we are comparing about Kyowo and Hawaii.
Okay.
Because we hotspot sounds like that. So now we are not going too far to talk to chit chat like this. So I will give your time to presentation, Miss Ayumi. So time is yours now.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. And so I will start my presentation. Again, my name is Ayumi Nochi, currently a postdoc research fellow at the University of Cuba, and also incoming postdoc fellow at Arizona State University in the US from this August. It's my great pleasure to be invited to this visiting lecture series today. So, my background, I am an anthropologist interested in youth culture and especially young women's culture in Asia. And in my dissertation, actually, I studied perception and creation over K-pop in among Japanese young girls. And then since last year, I was invited to be a part of this um, international joint research project supported by Kajima Foundation, which is themed on consumption of East Asian popular culture in Indonesian youth culture. So I started my field work in Indonesia, mainly in Jakarta and Bandung. And today I'd like to share with you an exciting practices of young women in Indonesia around Korean pop culture. So today's topic is K-pop, and you guys like K-pop, right? Okay, like please raise your hand, K-pop lovers here. If you love K-pop, please raise your hand. Okay, oh, not that many as expected. So some of you are not really. Okay, that's great. So what do you do? What kind of activities do you do as a K-pop fan?
Strolling around with friends, watching concert.
So enthusiastic. Okay. So go to concert. Would you do that? K-pop. As a K-pop fan, maybe you go to concert, right?
Yeah,
But-
fan sign.
Right, fan sign too. But even without concert, right? You go online space, right?
Yeah.
And then watch some music videos on YouTube or scroll through Instagram accounts.
Yep, series, and we can meet each other friends, so we can
Mhm.
give us our freebies.
Oh, that's so
Like
interesting.
free merch.
Okay, so without any concert or without going to online space, you physically meet and gather with other K-pop friends and interact with them, right? And also, she just mentioned freebie. Would you do that? Do you actually do that? Oh, Is it really free? Okay. Okay, so wow, that's actually interesting. Let me ask you more about it later after this presentation. But maybe you go buy something related to K-pop as a fan, right? So maybe you go to K3 Mart over there on the big street in Taiwan and purchase something related to K-pop. Or maybe you go to K-pop fan shop, like merchandise shop, to buy albums or some fan-related merchandise, like acrylic stands or keychains or whatever. And also, when you say that freebies, do you create it on your own?
For me, yeah.
Sometimes you create fan
Yeah.
merch
Yeah.
on your own, right? This is really fascinating because in Japan, not so many people are really making things. But I noticed when I started studying about K-pop in Indonesia, one thing really striking among K-pop fans are people are making fan merchandise on your own, which is really unique and surprising to me. So that made me start this research. So today's topic is K-pop fan merch industry in Indonesia as a transnational girl culture. Okay. And what I'd like to show you today is actually the mixing or the hodgepodge of Japanese pop culture elements observed in this K-pop fan culture, K-pop fan merch industry. And this is not at all to say that Japanese culture is actually stronger than K-pop culture or fundamental than that. No, actually, rather by focusing on the transnational hybridity emerging in pop culture, I would like to discuss the nature of globalizing pop culture, which can never be reduced into a framework of one single nation state. Okay, let's start. First, let me begin with the background of this study. The popularity of Japanese pop culture in Southeast Asia, which became prominent in the 1990s, sparked a body of cultural studies on transnational pop culture in Asia. By tracing the spread of manga or anime through grassroots fan culture, scholars have argued that globalization is causing the hybridization of regional pop cultures and the emergence of new cultural forms. Or more simple way to say it is not that essential regional culture like Japanese pop culture come into Indonesia and people just naturally embrace as it is. But rather what is actually happening is people always interpret the culture in your own way and create something new out of it. There's always the interpretations and negotiation which creates some new form of culture. For example, Shiraishi 2013 examined the Indonesian shoujo manga creation that appeared in early 2000s, arguing it's not just the mimicry of Japanese shoujo manga itself, but a new form of culture combining Indonesian local stories or culture and the style of drawing manga. Or even better example could be cosplay. So as you know, Muslim countries like Indonesia, some people practice hijab cosplay, as is shown like this. Oh, it's not that good. Okay. Hijab cosplay. You may have seen that, right? So do you think this is a practice of Japanese culture or Indonesian Muslim culture? Right, this is a mixture, I would say. Cosplay certainly originates in Japan, but of course there's no such thing like hijab cosplay originally in Japan. So what scholars have argued is that this is neither Japanese nor Indonesian, but a hybrid, new form of culture that emerged from negotiation between globalizing pop culture and local customs. And in doing so, scholarship emphasized people's cultural agency in creating such new forms of culture and have criticized nationalistic diplomacy that try to impose national boundaries on such hybrid cultures and attempts to harness them for their national benefits, such as Cool Japan initiatives of Japanese government. Yet, despite the recognition of people's creativity in previous studies, there are still limited studies conducted to reveal cultural hybridity through local grassroots practices. At the same time, I realized that previous studies on cultural hybridity in Indonesia have mostly focused on localization too. That is, they focus on how one foreign culture, like Japanese culture, come and interact with local Indonesian culture and how it is localized in it. That's the main point of the previous study. But how multiple cultures, like Japanese and Korean and other pop culture, are mingled and mixed to make a unique form of culture by Indonesian people's practice has not so much looked at yet, right? It's not about, so previously it tend to focus on Japanese culture, is how localized into Indonesian context, but not so much attention is paid to how Japanese culture, Korean culture, and maybe American culture, or many other pop culture are mixed together by Indonesian people. That is not so much paid attention to. So my research today reports on the hybrid of Korean and Japanese pop culture within the activities of Indonesian K-pop fans. By illustrating the cultural crossovers between Japan and Korea, often described as competing for soft power hegemony in Southeast Asia. This study aims to again dismantle the narrative of enclosing culture within the national framework. In addition, what I focus on today is the K-pop fan merchandise craft, which is a women-led cultural space. Even within the cultural studies of transnationalism, it's been pointed out that some feminized cultural domains, such as fashion, beauty, or handcrafts, are often overlooked from the mainstream discussion. By taking women's cultural agency seriously, this study also aims to shed light on what Miller calls minor variety of Asian transnationalism by examining the cultural hybridity manifested in the practice of Indonesian young women. Okay, so my primary data is drawn from my fieldwork last year in Jakarta, Bandung, and Soro. As an anthropologist, my methodology is based on dialect observation and interaction interviews with people in a local context. I conducted observations in shopping malls and K-pop merch shops, as well as interviews with K-pop fans, especially those who run small businesses related to K-pop. And out of the bulk amount of data that I gathered so far, today's talk mainly drawed on the data about K-pop merchandise creators. Okay, so you see it? Before diving into the discussion, let's first overview the historical context of reception of Japanese and Korean pop culture in Indonesia. Of course, you must be so much more familiar with this. You have the lived experience related to it, so correct me if I made any mistakes here. So first of all, simply put, Japanese pop culture has been permeating Indonesian youth culture since 1990s. And K-pop followed suit 2 decades later in the 2010s. First of all, behind the consumption of pop culture lies in the change of lifestyle of urban population. The large-scale urban development in Indonesian cities like Jakarta in the 1980s gave rise to a new consumer group, the urban middle class, embracing a modern lifestyle. And typically, it's a family living in the suburban housing and spending weekends at shopping malls where they consume cultural products according to their age groups. And in this mirror, anime flew into children's lives. 1 year after TV broadcasting deregulation in 1989, um, 1989, a private TV channel first broadcast the Japanese animation Candy Candy, which is the year Saya Shiraishi, a famous anthropologist who studied anime and manga in Indonesia, maybe some of you have heard of her name, called Anime Epoch. That's 1989. And in 1991, Doraemon, of course, you know, Doraemon was broadcast and became very popular among kids. Following the anime boom, pilot copies and officially translated manga began to circulate too. And besides that, a variety of lifestyle products of Japan, including TV drama, J-pop music, game products, and food products, came to be consumed along the way. Even during the financial crisis in late 1990s, the Japanese pop culture industry survived with the strong support of local people and found a place in Indonesian youth culture as seen here today. As such, Japanese pop culture popularity saw its peak in the 90s, but the popularity continued after millennials too. For example, JKT48 was launched in 2011, and also the first Comic Frontier, as you know, a comic convention rooted in the cultural festival by Japanese program students at University of Indonesia, began in 2012. So on the other hand, I found there are largely two waves in the acceptance of Korean pop culture in Indonesia. The first wave was in 2002 with Korean TV drama following the East Asian drama boom. In Japan, so-called Hallyu, a massive popularity of Korean pop culture, started in 2003 with a TV drama Winter Sonata. But even 1 year earlier than Japan, Indonesia accepted and favored Korean drama such as Daejanggung. But John et al. 2017 point out that the center of the boom was women in their 40s mainly, so they're not youth, and the popularity gradually faded in a few years. The arrival of the second wave, which is directly related to the current K-pop boom, started in the 2010s. And unlike anime, there is no clear epoch year, but I would say 2012 is the monumental year for K-pop in Indonesia. Why? It's because almost all women in their 20s and 30s whom I interviewed in Indonesia say that their enthusiasm for K-pop began with Super Junior. You agree? So Super Junior, of course, you know, Korean boy group that debuted in 2005, held their first concert in Jakarta in 2012. And I think around this time, K-pop popularity among youth became very visible in general Indonesian society. So afterward, various other idols became popular, such as BTS and NCT, throughout the 2010s. And the general K-pop Korean products, such as fashion, cosmetics, and food, have also been growing popularity lately too. And today's topic, fan-crafted K-pop merchandise, started to be made in the 2010s, but the domestic market is rapidly expanding nowadays, especially after 2020. The art convention like Komifuro for K-pop fan merch, which is P-Land. Have you ever heard of it, P-Land? Never. Okay, it's held in Jakarta, but it was first held in 2022. And at the same time, the Korean entertainment companies, the Korean companies also saw the big opportunities in this trend in Indonesia and stepping into the Indonesian market. In 2002, the same year when P-Land was first held, SM Entertainment, one of the biggest Korean entertainment companies, opened their official merchandise shop in Lotte Shopping Avenue in Jakarta. Is there anybody who visited there? Oh, you went there. Okay. Okay, of course. I didn't have to ask you. So you travel all the way to Jakarta to visit there?
I always follow my opa.
Right. Okay, so now we quickly went through the history of J and K culture contents in Indonesia. Okay, but if we only focus on these contents and the active enterprises and TV shows, it's hard to feel then how such cultural contents were interpreted, consumed, and reconfigured in Indonesian people's daily life in each local context. American anthropologist Elizabeth Chin emphasized the importance of focusing on local physical spatiality when examining consumption. The meaning of the act of buying a thing and the meaning of the thing itself, what you buy, is always configured not only by the content itself, but what kind of aesthetic and physical space you buy it. It's different to buy the same thing in maybe in the shopping mall in like, bright shopping mall in Jakarta and the local street shop in Semarang. Although Semarang is of course a big city. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but you understand it, right? The meaning of things and active buying things feels different depending on where you buy it and the physical ambience of the shop and the aesthetics of the shop makes the meaning of what you buy. Right. If you look at the shops and events around of Japanese and Korean pop culture by getting outside and walking around the cities in Indonesia, there's a huge difference observed between the aesthetics of the two cultures, Japanese pop culture shops and Korean K-pop related shops. A very notable feature of commercial spaces for K-pop merchandise and events is that they're predominantly pink. When you are walking through a dusty street or a gray low of shopping mall shattered, suddenly you see a very bright pastel colored dreamy space. And that's usually how you recognize and encounter a K-pop shops in cities. On the contrary, shops of manga, anime, cosplay items were often linked to darker and vivid colorings like red or black. For example, this is the picture of cosplay and anime merch shop that I saw in a large shopping mall in Bandung. You see that picture, right? Okay. So obviously, how do you feel about the shop? It's really dark, right? And also the coloring is bright red and blue, unlike K-pop merch shop. You can observe it. Yes, so the lighting is pretty dark and you can't really see inside from outside, and which makes it look even a little bit suspicious. So there are the same tendencies in the online space too. Above here, I will show the pictures. So above is the key visual of Comiflow last fall and the main page of the Comiflow Instagram account as of January this year. And you can see that their posts and visuals are also mainly with black and other darker colors. And if you compare this with the advertisement of P-Land last year, a North market of K-pop, the contrast between them should stand out. So this means that those who are into Japanese pop culture experience their cultural consumption in those dark spaces. Likewise, buying K-pop merch is experienced in this bright pastel pink aesthetics in Indonesian context. As imagined, this pink space created a highly gendered consumption too. Over 90% of those I saw at these shops or the convention P-Land were women. Now, among those shops selling K-pop idol goodies and CDs in Indonesia, only two are directly operated by Korean companies, SM Entertainment Shops, as I mentioned, and the CD retailer Widmer. And the remains are mostly the small shops run by local K-pop fan women in their 20s to 40s. And most of these local shops sell these unofficial form merchandise made by local Indonesian creators who are also women in their teens to early 20s. So to those of you who have never seen K-pop fan merch, I just brought some examples. So please take a look whenever, like after this presentation. It's basically all like this. I really love it. I have more than 1,000 of this. Like I'm a big buyer. Okay, anyways, so from merchandise includes a wide variety of items such as keychains, photo case, card cases, photo cards, and stickers. But pink and pastel colored aesthetics appear so prominently in these items. And over the past 3 years or so, the number of K-pop fan merch creators and the market for their products have continued to grow. But recall, 3 years ago, that is exactly when Korean enterprises also started selling their products in Indonesia, right? So why are these unofficial march still so popular among Indonesian women, even after official stores have opened now? Which means that more authentic, made in Korea product is now more easily available. Still, why don't they consider these fan merch as less valuable than official K-pop merch? Of course, one reason could be the price difference. Official merchandise is expensive and sells out first. So ordinary fans have to settle for K-pop fan merch instead. I heard this kind of explanation many times too. But as I talked to the women who gathered at fan merch stores, I realized that fan merch is not just a substitute for official ones, but has its own value. Lafma, an employee at a K-pop merch store, sums it up. Even if I had money, I would still buy unofficial merch because it's cute. Lafma's words encapsulate what I'd like to discuss today. In consumption, in Indonesian K-pop fan merch culture, what is being pursued to be consumed is not the consumption of authentic Koreanness or even something K-pop sometimes. But rather, it's about the creation, consumption, and sharing of cuteness in pink, and participation in the girl culture symbolized with its pinkness. High school students who I met at P-Land all agree that official merchandise is mostly black and dark colors, which they don't like or they find appealing. And that fan merchandise is definitely cuter than official merch. This indicates that the cuteness is not found in the K-pop content itself, but rather embedded in the aesthetics of local creation of people. In the world of K-pop fan merch where cuteness precedes Koreanness, you can see diverse cultural signs that seemingly have no relevance with K-pop, have been mixed up. And it leads to form a particular girl culture of women transcending generation and national borders. This is the very point of today's lecture and the summary. But from here, we'd like to explore this whole pink world together, looking at some actual details from story. But so for listening, thank you for listening. Some of you may be wondering now, after listening all so far, is this really happening in Korean pop culture domain? If you are familiar with the impressions and reactions to Japanese pop culture abroad in the 1990s and early 2000s, you might think this kind of pink aesthetics or cuteness or say kawaii or should have been more about Japanese pop culture thing. Don't you think so? Kawaii culture should have been something like this. It should have used to be something more closely related to pink cuteness. Now, which been more about K-pop thing. Indeed, the pastel-colored characters and accessories associated with young girls have long been a part of pink globalization that an anthropologist, Christine Yano, have been following in the 2000s. The transnational spread of goods and images, labeled kawaii, from Japan to other parts of industrial world. Japanese girl culture, symbolized by Hello Kitty and pinkness, have been embraced in the daily life of young girls across the globe and has been capitalized on in the Japanese government's soft power policy as Japanese cute cool. So the phenomenon of pink cuteness, which should have belonged to Japan, being pursued on the level of Korea, first complicates the political containment of cuteness as something essentially Japanese. No, it's not. It's apparently, it could be get along well with Korean things. So it's not essentially Japanese. But this is also not dictated by cultural content itself, such as now that Korean popular culture became more cuter, now it's get close to pinkness. It's not accurate, right? K-pop idols, music videos are mainly like dark color, cool concept, more streetish fashion style. So why this could be happening? That's my big puzzle. So this is certainly not about content of K-pop culture nor Japanese pop culture, but driven by local practices of people here. So by paying a particular attention to the uptake of Japanese pop culture elements, which have been traditionally most associated with cuteness, we will now examine how K-pop fan merch culture has become a space of practice for expressing, consuming, and sharing cuteness. We also see that K-pop fan merch invites multiple generations and transnational networks of women by its orientation toward cuteness over K-pop. All right, so the first example is the mixing of Japanese characters. In K-pop shops, as you said, you can see many items that do not appear to be related to K-pop at all sold. And among them, Sanrio characters were often sold in pastel colors, so together with K-pop merchandise. And they were packaged in the pastel colors and pink, similar to fan merch. Initially, it was a really big puzzle to me to see so many Hello Kitty and cinnamon roll sold with K-pop items. It was like, why? Why Sanrio is here? That's a question. And maybe some of you might think that one reason Sanrio characters are linked to K-pop is the direct connection between Sanrio and Korean entertainment companies. Since 2019, Sanrio has been selling Enjoy Idol series products designed for idol fandom activities. So Sanrio itself has a connection between idol culture. And also in 2022, Sanrio collaborated with the SM Entertainment to create co-branded product with the idol group NCT. So each NCT members, idol members, turned into some Sanrio characters, and then these related products were sold. So some very knowledgeable K-pop fan college students who I met in Indonesia told me that, you know what, there's a collaboration between NCT. So some fans were aware that there is a collaboration which connects Sanrio and K-pop directly. But on the other hand, not many of you have noticed about it, right? Even I didn't know. You didn't know, right? But still, you didn't have no wonder. You don't wonder like why Sanrio is here. And also, the study revealed that Sanrio products were sold in stores even before 2019. That Sanrio started creating something related to idols. So I believe that the main reason why K-pop and Sanrio products are displayed together is not because K-pop industries like connection, but because of the association with the consumer category of girlhood and cuteness in Indonesian context. When I asked, why do you sell Sanrio in a K-pop shop? The most common answer that the employees of shops was because girls like it. Also, one buyer said, we sell generally cute stuff here. That is, Sanrio can get along well with K-pop because they are generally cute stuff. It's a little bit slow. All right. There is one place in Indonesia where Sanrio is particularly prominent. That is children's clothing shops. The pastel-colored girls' clothes printed with Sanrio characters show that Sanrio and little girlhood are strongly linked in Indonesian context. Cristiano 2013 points out that Sanrio's association with girlhood invite adult females into consumption and thereby creates intimacy between two generations of women, mothers and daughters. Sanrio has been selling lifestyle items for girls for over 30 years, creating a cycle of consumption in which girls who grew up with Sanrio become mothers and then now find that rediscover the nostalgic girlhood they loved as child in Sanrio and then purchase Sanrio items now for their daughters. This connects mothers and daughters as consumers of the shared girlhood. While the reception of Sanrio in Indonesia requires further research on my own, but if it's entered alongside anime in the early 1990s, the girls who grew up with a kitty are now in their late 20s and 30s, the mother generation, and also part of the K-pop fan demographic. So from the research, there was a tendency that women of their mother's generation, slightly older than K-pop shop employees, mainly brought Sanrio products into the K-pop store. For example, in a shop run by a 13-year-old middle school student and her mother, the employee said, I stock K-pop products, and my mother stocks Sanrio products in this shop. The main consumer of K-pop shops are girls in elementary, junior high, and high school, and Sanrio products are co-populated in the K-pop space, likely because women who grow up with Sanrio cute gadgets now offer Sanrio products to their daughter generation of customers, drawing on their shared knowledge of cultural knowledge of shared girlhood. But in either way, Sanrio's inclusion in K-pop shop have made K-pop stores a place to attract women who are not K-pop fans and women of all ages. For example, in the evening of August 30th, a mother and her daughter, like 5-year-oldish daughter, came in from the underground entrance of the FX Sudirman, you should know, in a shopping mall in Jakarta, and stopped at the K-pop wagon shop in the hallway. The mother was carefully looking at the display stand with the pink My Melody stickers, and she didn't even give a glance at the K-pop merchandise, which is the main product of the shop. But instead, she carefully browsed through all the Sanrio products on the leg. In other words, for this mother, this K-pop shop, this space functioned not as a K-pop shop, but rather a store selling cute stuff, which is perfect to buy for their daughter. By including characters associated with girlhood, K-pop commercial spaces invite not only K-pop fans, but also a wider range of women across generations and beyond K-pop fans. And another point worth noting is that for many people living in Indonesian cities, the entry point to K-pop is not necessarily always on YouTube video clips, but to most of people living in cities like Jakarta, people find K-pop stuff in this pink wagon and discover it's something always inside of this kind of pink container. Right? And aside from Sanrio, other Japanese characters were also discovered, such as Mofu-san, Sylvania family, and Peko-chan. Okay. And I have also seen in K-pop stores. And by the way, I put the picture of one pump merch which attracted me a lot. A tiny acrylic stand featuring a Cupid-like boy in the cinnamon roll costume, which is sold as a merchandise of Jin from BTS. So this is Jin, everybody. This is Jin. Okay, this is Jin, and I think this example precisely represents my argument that cuteness often takes precedence over K-popness or Koreanness, the original Koreanness of K-pop. Here, the physical trait of the K-pop idols himself, such as the idol's, handsome face, or nice body, or wide shoulder, which should be a commodity of K-pop, right? This should be the selling product. That's completely gone. Like, it could be anybody, right? Without this tag, it could be anybody. It's just a cute object. K-pop idols now in this space, just becoming some pattern character representation of cuteness, like Mofu-san of the next, which was also sold in K-pop stores. So Jin can become Mofu-san. It's convertible. So it's not really about K-popness or authentic K-popness here. It's pursued, but rather cuteness is. Okay, so the next example is the incorporation of Japanese style manga, anime, and magazine. In fun merch stores or at Pilen, there are fun art products of K-pop idols drawn in Japanese manga anime style, like two pictures on the left. The left one is a photo card holder designed like a Japanese shoujo manga comic cover. And the second to the left is, I want to ask you, can you identify which is the idol depicted here? I'm talking about the picture above, right? The boy with the purple hair. Yeah, good guess. Just I want you to do it. Can anybody tell like who is this idol and also in what style it's depicted? Right? Like what is this illustration doing or trying to express? Anybody? No? You're a K-pop fan?
And Miss Dian is a K-pop fan too. Maybe she knows.
2021. Why that year? Here? The hairstyle of this illustration. Oh, that's interesting. So this reminds you of like 2000 style hairstyle of people. That's actually interesting. Maybe, but actually, so Now the topic is Japanese style manga and anime. Do you perhaps like anything reminds you of particular animation? Yes. So I heard that people are saying Sailor Moon, right? And then I agree with it. To me, it looked like this is actually Jungkook from BTS. And I picture the moment from the music video Butter. Like there's a thing that he gets on his, like his palm. There's a thing like that. And this illustration captured the moment and depicted it in a style of Sailor Moon. Okay, this picture I'm going to talk about it later. Yeah, so there is something like this, like something depicting K-pop idols or creating K-pop fan merch in a manga anime style. And also the use of manga style is not only a trend. Items featuring characters originally from Japanese manga or anime were also observed in K-pop space. For example, on the right, there's a fan art of Tonari no Totoro. On the right. And also the twin tail girl, like pink hair girl. Can you identify the character? Oh, great. I couldn't do it. I'm not an anime fan, so I wouldn't make it. But yes, this is Perona from One Piece. The seller explained to me. So Eva, an art school student who said that it was her first time having a booth at Pealand, excitedly mentioned that her sales at Pealand, which is a K-pop fan March festival, have been significantly better than at any other conventions, even though most of her products are anime merchandise rather than K-pop. She explained, people came and asked me, which idol merch is this? And then I can tell them they're not idols, but characters from anime. Yet people still buy it, saying, oh, well, it's cute. Again, this reflects that K-pop fan merch market is where something cute is preferred strictly or over strictly something K-pop. In other words, anime and manga can only be adopted in bold as signs of cuteness. So not all manga, anime can be included here. So in fact, there's no shonen manga. Of course, One Piece is a bit. But mainly that's shoujo manga elements. And also, even these characters from shonen manga or more general anime, which should have been repainted in pink to make them cute. So Tonari no Totoro is nothing pinkish, right? There's no, I don't remember any scene that they're using pink, but it should be painted in pink to be involved in this K-pop. And there was also some art in style of Japanese fashion magazines. So the artist known as Seven Heart Pills has many works that incorporate Japanese text. So when I asked why at Peeland, she said, oh, I just like the style of Japanese. Like if you search on Pinterest, like Japanese magazine. Yes, that was my inspiration. And I said, so you're using that as a template to create something K-pop. She said, yeah. As she agreed, Japanese pop culture, especially girl culture circulated in early 2000s, is certain as a template for K-pop products. So actually, the item displayed at the K-pop fan merch store in Indonesia are also not only made in Indonesia. The poster on the left of the slide is from Thailand, and the Sailor Moon style fan art that I showed before is actually the artwork of twin sisters from Barcelona, who is now living in South Korea. So the centrality of cuteness has led to the participation of transnational products and creators in the Indonesian K-pop merch industry. But more interesting thing is that, regardless of this transnationality, right? So regardless of this transnationality, what's also remarkable is that when I saw this Sailor Moon style picture, it doesn't tell anything about where it comes from. It doesn't really matter. But I saw and could share what it means. We can understand the meaning of it without knowing its nationality. And I think, it's not just a cute picture. To some of you, it may be just a cute picture, but to understand this standard correctly, first you should be a K-pop fan. But that's not enough. You also have to be familiar with a particular type of girl culture, which been related to Japanese pop culture, which permeated girl culture all over the world in early 2000s. So I'm so happy that feel like, oh, I'm still young because I could share the childhood memory and teenage period growing up with Sailor Moon share with this generation. But that's true, right? If you're growing up with Sailor Moon, you can understand the meaning of what this painting trying to do. So Shiraishi argues that in an essay on Japanese style manga creation in Indonesia, that seemingly an original secondary creation or fan art are not simply just a copy or imitation, but rather acquisition of literacy to appropriately read and interpret the context of the original creation. Those who created this artwork and those of us who find it cute and nostalgic may all share the literacy of Japanese girl culture that spread globally in 2090s. And earlier I introduced the Yano's argument about Sanrio consumption, which connects children and adult women through shared girlhood. But in my view, the style of Japanese girl culture that experienced simultaneously in Southeast Asia and also other regions around the world in early 2000 have been serving as a shared girl culture template, which I and you share and become a foundation of literacy about cuteness. So if you want to make something cute, that's the literacy we refer to. And that's why we can share the same understanding regardless where we come from. Okay. Okay, we're gonna be quick. Okay, next is the incorporation of Japanese language. So some of the manga and magazine style mentioned earlier also have Japanese text, but there are also a few examples where Japanese texts are used very randomly, even though they didn't follow the typical format of magazines. So for example, next to the photo of NCT Jaehyun on here, there's a Japanese text saying, Valentine no tokonoko. Okay, so this is because the idol was born on February 14th, so it's nicknamed Valentine's Boy among fans. But the question is why it has to be written in Japanese. Of course, he's a Korean idol and his first language is Korean. Why does it have to be Japanese? When I asked me, the creator of this art at the Peelan booth, she seemed very confused by the question at first and said she'd never thought about it. And then when I said, but Jaehyun speaks Korean, right? She replied with, oh, that's true expression, and said, oh, I did it for the concept. It's just for the concept, and then what the concept is, just wanted to make it cute. And then she added, sure, the idol is from South Korea, but I think the Japanese language is cuter than Korean language. I really want to hear if it's true for you too later. But to me, like because in my dissertation, Japanese young girls were using Korean just because Korean language sounds cuter than Japanese. So the opposite thing is happening here. But anyway, what is interesting here is that in fun merch culture, again, the focus is not the Koreanness or national identity of the idol, but literal making their fan art cute. And this is not a notable example of this tendency. And finally, the format of convention as platform. I discussed about P-Land and convention focused on K-pop fan merch by local creators. P-Land, first held in 2022 in Jakarta, is now held twice or three times in a year. I visited the one in December 2024, which is a smaller event than the main annual gathering in every May, but still gathered over 4,000 visitors during the 2 days. And it's important to note that comic convention actually originates in the US. New York started in New York in 1964, sorry, which means that they're not originally a Japanese culture at all. However, in an interview with the founder and organizer of P-Land, Audrey, she revealed that the convention has historically been linked to Japanese pop culture in Indonesia. And there has always been a blend of Japanese and Korean pop culture within the forum of convention. Audrey herself is a creator who's been making K-pop merch for overseas since 2016. During the interview, she mentioned that she used to be a big fan of Super Junior in high school and had a fan-made keychain. So I asked her if K-pop merch existed in Indonesia at the time. Audrey started explaining that she bought it at a Japanese culture event at the university. And here the transcript from the interview. Since her sister was also present during this part of the interview, so the exchange increased dialogues between the two. So I asked, so she started, where did we get the keychains? It was like a university market, a Japanese, because art market is a trend in Japanese culture, right? Like Comic-Con, like that, right? They're like Japanese studies students in Indonesia held like an event like art market that specialized with anime, manga, and everything. And sometimes they also sell K-pop merch. From her description, we can see that she associates convention with Japanese culture, and also say that there's been always a K-pop merch. Okay, let's continue. So A stands for Audrey, and L is her sister. So we went to Japanese Comic-Con, Japanese art market, to look for K-pop merch. But they only have little like 10p for K-pop. Yeah, something like that, so small. But it's always been in Japanese community. Yeah, but if you are into K-pop community and if you like decoration and so on, eventually like that, you can go to Japanese market and someone's selling K-pop keychain or sticker and so on in 2009. Because there was a market for K-pop back then. There was no market back then. There was no online shopping place before. That's how we found K-pop merch. Comiflo officially started in 2012, so this might be a memory lapse on Audrey's side, but perhaps there were smaller school festivals which existed before that. In either way, Audrey opened her first K-pop merch stand at Comiflo in 2020. And at the very convention, she came up with the idea for P-Land. She said, I thought, what if we tried making something for ourselves? I think there was only Japanese market. We wanted to sell K-pop, but we didn't have any platform. That's where the idea of P-Land comes from. So her narrative reveals how the K-pop fan culture in Indonesia has always been intertwined with that of Japanese pop culture and shaping it and evolving alongside it. It shows that places like Komifuro, which are considered hallmarks of Japanese pop culture in Indonesia, have always had K-pop fans from the start, and there have always been people who go there specifically in seeking to buy K-pop stuff. Based on the templates of fan culture linked to Japanese pop culture, a platform for K-pop fan merches have also been developed. So the venue of convention also invites multiple networks of women too. First, it invites transnational participation. Every year, they have visiting creator abroad who sells their crafted fan merch at Thailand. Last year, I met a girl from Singapore who visited Indonesia just to participate in this event. So she said there's no such convention in Singapore. And also Malaysian creator also said the same thing. There's no such thing like Thailand in their country. And her aim is not profit, but to join in this festival that she can express and share her crafts fully decorated in pink. Many Indonesian creators also say that there is a community at the convention. They said, compared to other conventions, creators gather at Thailand can get along well together and help each other. Because of this sense of community growing, I met several artists who was originally not making K-pop thing at all, but started making K-pop thing to be a part of this convention. So that convention itself is inviting many more creators beyond K-pop, original K-pop bands. So the convention, of course, creates a connection among young girls who come here to purchase things. A college student, Fei, said she originally buy only official K-pop fan merch. And then one day she found her friend always have some cute K-pop fan merch and asked her where she bought it, and her friend took her to Thailand. Sharing of the cute fan merch creates intimacy not only between friends, but also between unknowns. Fei said she often goes talk to someone unknown who are wearing the same fan merch with her at the concert of K-pop artists. And then, so like, oh, I have the same one with you. Oh, this is pretty, right? So this kind of connection and communication always happening at the concerts. So consuming and sharing of cuteness expands the network among young women, K-pop fan girls too. So what is driving the K-pop fan community in Indonesia is not only K-pop content itself and its attraction, but the Korean government soft power strategy in Indonesia. Through the consumption of pink thing mashed up with Japanese pop culture and the intimacy of sharing cuteness are bringing in women across generations and national borders while expanding the community. Okay, so let's wrap up. So in today's talk, we zoomed in on the growing K-pop fan merch industry in Indonesia and examined it as a case of transnational cultural hybrid via pop culture. We saw that elements of Japanese pop culture were frequently incorporated into K-pop fan merch. Likewise, places like Komifuro, long regarded as an emblem of Japanese pop culture, always had K-pop fans and fan merchandise inside. Equally important is that this intersection is neither confined to Japan, South Korea, nor Indonesia. The picture here that I put shows the countries of customers who have purchased from one K-pop fan merch artist in Indonesia via online. So you see multiple flags of countries. So Indonesian K-pop fan merch resonates with fans from Brazil to Mexico and so on. Some Indonesian K-pop shops sell items from Thailand or Spain, and at Thailand, there were always sellers from Singapore, or this year, I heard that they had a seller from Thailand. So neither Japan, nor South Korea, nor any national label can contain this pink world driven toward cuteness. The Indonesian K-pop fan merch industry, loosely under the label of K-pop, is indeed the transnational girl culture that connects girls around the world. Finally, I think there is one more thing that this study can contribute to the previous scholarship. That is, it provides a new way to answer the topical question, why are K-pop fans in Indonesia almost exclusively women? And a previous scholarship have discussed, have attributed the reason to the nature of the content itself or the intentions of Korean side of creators. For example, Korean drama evoke cosmopolitan feminine figure, so it's admirable. Or Korean men are portrayed as gentle, as a new type of manhood, so it's attractive for women. Or K-pop idols often send messages that are compatible with feminism. That's the reason which attracts so many younger generation of women. I don't deny all these discussions, but by observing the physical spatiality and its aesthetics of consumption while walking down the streets of Jakarta and Bandung and many other cities in Indonesia, we could explain it in a way not given so much power to control fans for its contents. That is, K-pop culture consumption circulates through the aesthetics of cuteness in Indonesia, and that makes K-pop something belong to girls. So it is not necessarily K-pop itself attracts women nowadays, but rather the fact that K-pop consumption has become highly a girl culture further draws women in. Rather than simply embracing K-pop as presented, Indonesian girls actively reinterpret and cutify K-pop to make it their own. K-pop fan merch culture is a prominent example of pink globalization in our time. As for my future inquiry, now that I looked at the mixing of J-pop and some layer K-pop, so I'm going to see how K-pop is then mixed into the Japanese pop culture space, like Komifuro, which will be held on this weekend. So that's a part of the reason I'm here today to visit Komifuro after this. But here are my references. And thank you so much for listening.
Okay, thank you so much for your fascinating presentation, Miss Aomi. So, the phenomena of pink hotspot, it's kind of slapped me through the way. And it was made me realize that, oh, I was so fanatic back then.
Without knowing, you are already a part of Pink Hotspot.
Yeah, we are. If you like K-pop, then we are the part of Pink Hotspot itself. So, and then now, uh, it made me realize that Pink Hotspot here is a realization of all of us that sharing cuteness is also a cultural mixing. And when I saw Sanrio combined with K-pop idol, it made me realize too that oh, now Japan and Korea are collaborating so well in the pop industry, or maybe it's a collaboration between the Kyowo and Kawaii. So, okay, and now we are going to move to the discussion and question and answer session. So maybe you can, the participant all here, you can raise your hand if you have any question. And for the participation in the participant in the Zoom meeting, you can type your question in the chat box and maybe I can read your question. So please, if you have
a question or maybe something you want to discuss about the Pink Hotchpotch, or maybe you're a fan of K-pop itself, you can please raise your hand. Oh, banyak sekali. So many people they want to ask you. Uh, it's okay. I have to count this like one, two, three.
Thank you. Good morning, Ayumi Sensei.
Good morning. Ohayou gozaimasu.
Thank you very much for the valuable presentation and for giving us the opportunity to learn from your insight today. My name is Lisa, and I am currently a Japanese language student at Diponegoro University. If I would like to ask a question. As one of the largest global fandom, BTS Army in Indonesia is predominantly made up of young women who are highly active in both producing and consuming fan merchandise. In your perspective, can the spirit of solidarity and creative within the army community within us from a female cultural labor that goes beyond mere consumerism, and could this be considered a new form of agency within global popular cultural? Once again, thank you very much for your time and inspiring talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Can I clarify about the cultural labor that you mentioned?
Like we are BTS Army, we going to celebrate our birthday, idol birthday, like make our merch or have to like project from our yeah, even like that.
So they are just parading around and they celebrate their idol's birthday and they just going to have freebies and can have this. Okay, I will give you this. So they are just storing around together.
Right. So, and then you're asking about the meaning of this kind of gathering and the function of such cultural labor that you mentioned to create intimacy among global female fans. Is that correct?
Maybe.
Talk to me later.
I don't know in total.
Maybe you can bring your pepper here. Maybe
Sorry?
you can bring your pepper here.
Oh,
Your question.
But like one thing, made me really interested in the Indonesian K-pop fan march or fan culture is that that if you meet some K-pop fan in Japan, oh, are you a K-pop fan? And which idol group you're following? And like, oh, I'm a BTS Army. Oh, that's cute, right? That's the normal conversation. And in Indonesia, if I meet somebody who loves K-pop, I'm like, oh, are you a K-pop fan? And I'm like, oh, yes, that's why I'm doing some business out of it. That that's people always say like, oh, I like BTS, I like NCT, so I'm making fan merch and selling it, or I'm doing ticketing business because I like K-pop and I'm so knowledgeable about how to get tickets in Indonesia. Somehow, even if they are students or having a full-time job, they somehow make this subculture as an opportunity to create some business. That was really striking to me. And it's not really like, I don't know if you have realized, but it's unusual. At least in Japan, it's not really popular, or it's not something like ordinary fan can engage. There's always professional companies or sectors engaging in it on behalf of us. We don't never think like, oh, well, there's nothing like cute stuff. Oh, I make it. That's Indonesian mentality. And that's really interesting to me as a kind of outsider fan of K-pop, which is really unique about Indonesian K-pop fan culture, I think. So I think in global fandom, I know that they commit into like organizing a wedding, not wedding, a birthday party of fans and celebrate it. There's certainly the global networks and community and engagement among them. And also, I don't really deny that the K-pop itself has its attraction to draw many women into the community. But in today's talk, what I focused on is this particular type of K-pop fan activity, which is very prominent or unique about Indonesian K-pop fan culture. And through this creating practice, and these immediately sell too, it won't be really a freebie. You said you do it as a freebie, so I guess some of you create this kind of fan merch on your own, but not selling, but giving it just for free. Well, it's so surprising. I've never met any fans who do not sell things. I know, but somehow, so far, everybody I met sells them and then trying to make money out of it because it's expensive to be a fan, right? It costs a lot. So it's also a way to help each other to make their own money to more participate in the K-pop fan activity as fans. So buying things is also a supporting system for other fans because we are all fans, even if you're selling or buying, right? Like you are also being a part of this industry, which eventually supports other girls' K-pop love. So yeah, maybe I'm not really knowledgeable about talking about global fandom because my focus is not really about it because I'm rather more interested in what you guys are doing in Indonesia. Sorry, like let's talk about later about your question too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh my God. Okay, thank you. Basically, talking about freebies, and I created freebies. Spend them. Take. Okay, talking about freebies, and actually, I created freebies for my friend to make them happy. You know, then they happy because I really like make them happy, and they so we can make each other happy. And so K-pop or maybe J-pop is not only a product, but it's thing that make us being happy and bring us a happiness. So that's why we celebrate our idol birthday. We celebrate our idol anniversary, so we can gather around and cheer up to each other. So that's why I think that. Okay. Okay, Mila, can you feel that? When the happiness bring it.
I mean, for sure, right? Of course, like just watching something you like by yourself is itself is fun, right? But also if you could share that emotion with other people, that certainly connects people. And you, in a way, we are all using K-pop to make new connections with others. But like through and maybe in one way to connect today's presentation to what you just said is that it's something beyond your like physical in-person meeting network, right? Like fandom certainly gather people in one place. It's how it is. So on online or on the stories wall, I don't know. Mainly on online, people put posters to inform there's a wedding, there's a birthday party of Jin, VDS, come gather at this coffee shop at this time. And then all the K-pop fans, Jin fans, in the region go to the coffee shop and mingle together, spend time together, listen to Jin's song, and have fun time. And that's partially the way to meet new people and create new community. But what is happening through like consuming pink cute stuff related to K-pop is actually you don't have to be physically together or spend so much long time. As I just mentioned, when you are buying like or even before buying, when you see this on on the wall, shop wall, you feel like this is so cute. Oh, I want it. Oh, who made this? Oh, like even without seeing or meeting the creator immediately, physically, you can feel that, right? Like somebody loves the same person as I love. And also, they're making something really nice art out of their love. And then I can totally understand what this art is doing, like Jungkook's BTS in Sailor Moon template, right? Somebody loves Sailor Moon and also BTS Jungkook. And when you share the knowledge, we are sharing the love and also the knowledge about cuteness or the enthusiasm about certain type of aesthetics, you feel some connection and network at the shop without meeting the creator himself or herself, right? And I think that's really one unique aspect of this Indonesian K-pop fan community, not just by physically gathering in one place and doing something together, just going to shops or even online by consuming something cute product, you're participating in the gal culture, which is also partially related to K-pop fandom. Is that right?
Yeah,
Do you
that's
understand?
amazing. I miss that kind of atmosphere. Okay, maybe we can move to the next question. You can raise your hand, dear participant. One, okay, pray, lower your hands. Okay, one, two, three. Oh, okay, maybe one more time. One, two, three. Siapa?
Hello, good morning, Miss Ayumi. I'm Vanessa. Uh, I'm not actually a student here. I graduated long ago. I work here as a staff, and I have a question for you. So, how do you define a fan merch in fan merchandise industry? As we know, fan merchandise ranges from cute trinkets like keychains, pins, or photo cards, like you mentioned earlier. But I would argue that some also sell fanzines because we know doujinshis are huge in Japan, right? Even I do collect some doujinshis. It and doujinshi actually sometimes contains manga or fan fictions, and sometimes it actually contains also yoi, yuri, or for some instances are furry or kimono stuff. I found this occurrence in the K-pop fandom as well. What do you think about this? Do you think there's a Japanese influence in the K-pop fan merch industry regarding fan signs?
Wait, fan signs, what do you like? Could you give them some examples of fan signs?
Fan signs is actually like a magazine created by fans.
Uh,
Yeah, fan sign is it's like a magazine created by fans. It contains fan arts or like fan fictions. Yeah.
fan fiction, basically like
Yes.
fan fiction, like magazines, some printed stuff.
Printed stuff. Sometimes it's sold online, like a soft copy of it.
Okay.
Sometimes there's also a printed copy of it also. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the question. And first of all, I was not knowledgeable about the fan sign, right? Like a written creation or a secondary creation or original story using K-pop idols as main characters, right? And then I imagine some like boys love relationship between those two idols. Is that something what you're talking about? Right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually common in the K-pop fandom, but not that common as in for fans in the game industry, for gacha game industry. Yeah. But there are also some instances that these fan signs contain shipping of the idols. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. So I think as for the definition of fan art or fan merchandise, fan signs are not sold in this kind of shops. That's why I haven't really aware of the existence neither. I've heard that, um, well, so in today's presentation, I basically think about K-pop fan merch as something like more physical instead of storyline. Stories or some like magazines written stories related to K-pop, but rather these kind of material products such as keychains or photo cards or maybe paintings like poster that I showed. And also at Peeland, at least I couldn't find any fan signs sold at such conventions. So maybe if you go to Comifro, maybe that's the main products, right? That's what the people are selling there. But in case of K-pop fan merch convention, people are mostly selling these cute stuff, not that secondary story printed in the form of magazines or somewhere, whatever. So I think I believe fan signs certainly exist, should exist, but not the mainstream of K-pop fan merch and its culture. And it's more close to, like if there is a like a line between Japanese pop culture and Korean pop culture, it's more close to Japanese ones. And also, but I heard that there are some Thailand creators making acrylic keychain, like using the two SIP K-pop idols, mainly boy idols, in one frame, so that it could be read as a representation of boys' love. But it's not sold very obviously. Usually, it's kind of hidden at the corner of the in the shop booth. So it's really hard to identify. But I heard that there is such kind of fun march at Lily keychain, something like that related to like boys got love culture, just but also more close to Japanese pop culture in my view. So like the main goal of today's presentation is not to distinguish, okay, this is Japanese elements, this is Korean elements. It's so my aim was not to, like set the clear boundaries between it, but rather trying to show the mixture of these two cultures. So maybe in the K-pop fan sign, domain of K-pop fan sign as a part of K-pop fan culture in Indonesia, have its own mixture of Japanese pop culture influence and K-pop fan culture. So that's, I believe, the ratio between J and should be a little different there, but it should be a really interesting topic to pursue further. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Ayumi and Vanessa. Okay, for one last question for all the participants in this room. So you can may raise your hand in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Ayumi Sensei. My name is Askia from the class of 2023. Uh, I would like to ask about the K-pop hate phenomenon in Indonesia. I don't know if this also happens in other countries, but in Indonesia, K-pop fans often have that images among the so-called normies, especially for their sometimes overconsumption of these merchandises, be it official or fan merchandises. But even in other fandoms that has similar merchandising cultures like anime or the Japanese merchandising cultures, it is not as hated as K-pop merchandises. And from what I've seen, people on the internet has narrowed it down to simply woman hate because most of the haters are men. Uh, and K-pop fans are somehow gendered, like Ayumi Sensei has mentioned it earlier. And I'd like to hear your opinion about this hating phenomenon.
Wow, that's a very big question to me, and it takes some time for me to answer. But I really, first of all, thank you for mentioning about it, and I really didn't know much about that sort of hater opinion and aggression toward K-pop fans. But is it something like you daily, like you experience as a K-pop fan on daily basis? Like where do you experience that sort of hate?
Mostly on the internet.
On the internet. So like if you are scrolling through some like fandom account, you encounter with that sort of hate comments?
Uh, Sometimes the most encountered like this hating phenomenon is when Indonesian K-pop fans are scammed. Like they buy uh, photo cards of their K-pop idol for hundreds of rupiah, and they get scammed or for albums. And the haters said, those things are useless. Why do you even buy it? Like something like that.
Right. As for the massive consumption related to albums, that's also a big problem in Japan too. Like some fans consume over 4,000 of one album to obtain some photo cards and also get some ticket for a fun sign and just bump it after they obtain it. That is happening, and certainly there is a problem. But besides that, hating comment, that you should research about it. But so you said it's becoming more like a women hate.
From what I've seen, the comments like some people have said that men are just jealous because we like K-pop idols more than them, like that.
Right. One thing I can say about that sort of backlash toward women's fascination towards some cultural content is that in cultural studies, there is a long trend to marginalize women's practices and cultural practices, seeing them as something marginal or unserious in society. It doesn't bring any changes to the serious domains of the society. It doesn't impact on the country to country relationship or diplomacy or economic or anything. They're just crazy, fanatic and crazy about something really less important. And the view exists everywhere. And especially so, yes, when the first wave of Hallyu happened in Japan after the massive popularity of Women's Sonata, no, sorry, Winter Sonata, Kuyo Sonata, became so popular in 2003, and which led to the big popularity, the boom of Korean pop culture among middle-aged women in Japan. At the time, there was a huge backlash, something similar to what you said. Like they're now like 40s and 50s and they're still following and running after one male Korean actor. So at the time, Paeonjun was really popular, and people gathered at the airport to welcome them. And that was really broadcast on TV show. It's really phenomenally like, oh, people are going crazy for one Korean guy. And like so many women. And then what TV show actually portrayed was that look at that woman wearing high heels to go to this place in such crowded place. And then she got some injury because of that. How silly. So that sort of portrays the women gather in such places circulated through the society, and then there is a certain prejudice toward those women who are so obsessed with K-pop that they're engaged in something unserious, and what they are doing or committing into is not really serious and stupid. But then look at the current. So at the time, many cultural scholars, study scholars, predicted it has no impact on the Japan-Korea relationship. It's just some cultural domain which is unserious. So it doesn't have any impact on improving the two countries' relationship. Now look at the younger relation of Japan and Korea. Actually, the more preferred view toward each other, like Japanese youth are so into K-pop and Korean pop culture, and so many people started learning Korean language and culture, and then visit there. And then some adult generations still are really conservative about it and criticize them. But also I heard on Korean side, the popularity of Japanese pop culture and enthusiasm for Japanese and interest in Japanese culture and language is growing too. So who can tell it doesn't have any impact on it? So I think there's always a view, societal view, even in the US, it's been focused and it's been discussed that there is a tendency to marginalize women's practices non-serious. Maybe there has always been that sort of attitude and tendency, but things always have good aspects and bad aspects. So the massive consumption by K-pop fans certainly be criticized and be considered. But also, we should have a multiple views to think about this phenomena. And also, if you encounter with the hater's opinion, maybe you can think about why and what is this person trying to do? What kind of assumption this person is basing on? How do they perceive women and their cultural practices? How do they think about Korea? Is it like evil foreign country takes over women in this country? Right? It's always happening in nationalistic perception to preserve national culture, so-called. So it's a really great entry point to think about the nature of globalizing pop culture, which is a part of the topic today. And it's always mix and influence each other, never be separated into one culture, framed in one single country culture. But there's always a backlash. And then in that case, what they're trying to preserve, that will be the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayumi.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we are going to move to the question from the chat box. And okay, please, the community, can you please help me to display the question? Okay. Okay, this question is from Virus. Okay, I will have to read this. When Japanese elements are incorporated into Korean idol merchandise or concepts, can this be considered cultural commodification? Where is the line between inspiration and the exploitation? Wow.
Very difficult question. Your question is so tough.
We are not talking about the industry and the commodification.
It's really relative. There's no boundary. Like, simple answer. There is no clear boundaries between appropriation, incorporation, commodification, or exploitation. It depends on your interpretation. Some people may claim that, oh, this is appropriation of Korean culture. Could be. Or maybe we can claim that, oh, Indonesian K-pop fans are appropriating Japanese culture. And then certainly, there's one clear thing. There's a copyright. In terms of that, Indonesian Farm March completely breaks this law. So in this case, maybe it might be legally problematic. This whole another story. So in case if Korean companies started to claim about it and trying to restrict the use of images of K-pop idols that they have in Indonesia, in Indonesian fan march. They could do that, right? And at the time, they could say that this is exploitation and copy. It's a pilot copy. It's bad. But as long as you don't really think, at least anybody at PLAN think that this is a bad thing. And also, but we can also add another layer, right? Korean company is a global company, and they're gaining so much money out of selling so much K-pop merchandise and albums. And then K-pop fan merchandise is expensive, right? And if you buy it, the money goes to Korean entertainment company, right? And then and then also there's a regulation to make something copied out of it. What should we do? It's expensive. We don't have much money to engage or to be a fully engaged fan. They need money. We need money. Without money, we can't even be a fan. And there, I'm actually fascinated. A pro K-pop fan merch creators. I'm on the side of creators because they're doing for their own. Because K-pop fan merch doesn't offer space for them, opportunities for them. If it's too expensive, of course, like how can you engage in the fan culture? But K-pop fan merch in Indonesia certainly create a pathway for younger K-pop fans who doesn't usually have much money to have something K-pop, right? And then share it and be part of the community. Can this be called as appropriation? That's the question, right? When you think about who can determine what it is, exploitation or appropriation or just appreciation. That's the question. It's easy to criticize someone copying things, but personally, I don't think, if you want to consider this as appropriation, you can start thinking about your standpoint and view on culture and its mixture. That's my answer to it.
Okay, but myself thinking that our life are always ruled by capitalism. Like we are always ruled by capitalism. Like sometimes I think about this too. Like the K-pop industry is always ruled by capitalism, but we are happy with that. So what? No, and it's not going too far. Like you can think like maybe the clothes that you wear, the powder that I wear, or maybe the coffee that you drink every morning is a product of capitalism itself. So what? Okay, we can move to the next question, maybe, please. Oh, that's a long question. I want to ask by Honey. Is overbuying merchandise an individual choice, or is it a socialist behavior reinforced by fans communities and online trend? Wow. It could be socialist behavior reinforced by fan communities and online trend, isn't it? Because it also said that buying merchandise is a new cultural thing in this society. Hmm. That's quite interesting.
Thank you for this question. This really makes me think about the nature of K-pop fan merch industry itself too. All right, so maybe regarding the first question, whether it's an individual choice or the socialized behavior, if you're a sociologist, of course the answer is our individual behavior. They're always determined by society. So the answer is the latter one. And you can also feel that, right? Like if you become a K-pop fan, you start entering into online community of fans. People communicate each other by posting picture of merchandise they purchase, and like that makes you feel like, oh, maybe I should get the same one, or I want this one too. Or to be a fully participated member in this community, maybe I can also purchase this. For example, if you are at concert and if you don't have the light stick, you may feel so sad. Like, oh, I can't be part of this crowd. And that's definitely the collective impact force you toward the consumption of merchandise. That's the whole point of this idol industry too. They want us to purchase things. And I'd say as long as we are living in the capitalism society of capitalism, we always engage in this society and express our identity through buying things, wearing something you want. You go shop and buy some clothes, which determines how you want to be looked at by others, how you dress up, and or in which coffee shop do you go for on weekend, and what kind of coffee you drink will also be a part of your identity in this society. So as long as we are living in this kind of society that consumption, self-expression is depending on buying things. It's not just about K-pop fan merch or K-pop merchandise purchase. It's always about buying things. It's not just about fan culture. The blame is not on fan culture or K-pop. We're always doing something similar anyway. But again, buying things from a massive K-pop Korean entertainment company or some brokers, or buying things from local creators makes differences, right? It's also a consumption. It could be massive, it could be problematic, but Korea K-pop fan merch certainly offer an alternative way to consume K-pop fan merch, and the identification of you as a K-pop fan through that consumption. And it goes to local community, right? Local women's benefit. Your buy is on her own, which is the same, actually in the same position basically with you, instead of someone higher up and somewhere else. So what was the question? I was saying, yeah, it's also the buying function, a new cultural thing in the society. As a fan culture, yes, as I said, it's a if you think about it as part of punk culture, it's certainly a new thing that came along with the punk culture, idol culture after 1990s to early 2000s. But buying and expressing selves through something you purchase is nothing new. And K-pop fan merch is an alternative way to think about the consumption among being fans.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we are going to move to the very last question. Okay. This is from Zafira and Hasna. We can arrange this become one or okay. Okay, I will read this. How about the Korean wave in Japan? How the situation may be? So we know that Japan and Korean have had a road history, but these days K-pop and Japanese culture seems to go hand in hand.
So, how did people in both countries first react to this cultural mix?
Well, yes, thank you so much for the question regarding Japan-Korea relationship. And it's again a really big question. And so let's go from the first question. How about Hallyu, the Korean wave in Japan? It's massive. The Korean K-pop popularity is massive in Japan as here. And well, I've already mentioned about the differences between Indonesian fans that I saw and then Japanese young girls who also embrace K-pop. Or here people make everything into business, or they see a business opportunity even in K-pop. In Japan, there are like range of K-pop fans, I think. So some are really committed members who organize like birthday parties and like organize fan events. Those sort of really engaged fan is this. But in my dissertation, actually, I focused on like high school girls who are not really who do not have much time and money to be an organizer of that sort of community. What they did was actually the incorporation of Korean language in their daily conversation in Japanese. So they're using Korean in their daily life. And which was remarkable to me because Korean language, or it's actually about Korean culture too, has been long regarded as stigmatized in Japanese society. And it's been regarded basically if you hear somebody speaking Korean language on the street, which means that it's an ethnic symbol, which means that they are from Korea or ethnically Korean, right? Which has been long stigmatized in Japanese society. That's the the theory of social linguistics of Japanese. But then I went to a high school, which gather uh, upper middle class, kind of wealthy high school kids, and it's in suburban Tokyo. There are so many girls are using Korean in their conversation. Of course, they are not ethnically Korean. They have never lived or visited Korea. They have never studied officially Korean. But somehow they post on social media with some Hangul letters text or like chat with friends using "귀여워," "고마워," or like in classroom when you hit somebody, 미안해. Like instead of gomen, or like gomen, or like sorry, not even sorry, 미안해. It's sorry in Korean. So I think it symbolizes a really big change in Japanese society through K-pop. It changes the meaning, social meaning of Korean language in Japanese society, among young generation. So not just about K-pop fan activities or activities of someone who positively or aggressively identify themselves as K-pop fans. Normal, ordinary girls of Japan, like Japanese girls, are unknowingly incorporating so much Korean elements into their daily lives. So there are also a mixing happening. So maybe in terms of that, Japanese Korean culture has been mixed in the youth culture of Japan, K-pop, and also as well as here, the mixture of Japanese Korean culture happening through K-pop. So in terms of that, maybe we can see the commonality between Indonesian youth culture and Japanese youth culture in relation to K-pop.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so because that's the last question we have, so I think this pink hotspots, it's not about how much you buy the merchandise or how expensive it is, but it's about how we happy to have that, how we can have the item and we are happy for that. So because from there, so you can also get to know many people and you can find out how cultures can work well with each others. And it's not about who belongs to whom, but it's about how we sharing cuteness become a simple thing that can make us happy. So that's all from here. So dear all the participants, we are now at the end of the event today. So thank you so much for coming. And so once again, thank you so much, Miss Ayu, for coming to Semarang. And we can be friends. We can be friends. We can be friends, and we can have some projects together about K-pop.
Thank you so
And
much for your engagement and great questions. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Please applause for us. Okay, so I hope we hope this isn't going to inspire our academic and personal interest in Japanese and East Asian popular culture. So me, Fania, gonna say thank you for all the participants and apologize if I have made any mistakes. So once again, thank you so much. Alam budaya. Okay, so I will give the time to Rafika.
Thank you very much, Miss Ayumi, for the insightful and engaging presentation you have shared with us today. We also extend our sincere thanks to Mrs. Vania for expertly moderating today's public lecture. We now proceed to the symbolic certificate presentation to express our appreciation to Ms. Ayumi Inoue. The certificate will be presented by the Secretary of the Undergraduate Program in Japanese Language and Culture, Faculty of Humanities di Ponorogo University, Mrs. Elizabeth Ikahesti Aprilianindiarini, SSM Home. We kindly invite Ellie Sensei to do the honors. Thank you very much, Ellie Sensei, for graciously presenting the certificate on behalf of the program. As we come to the end of today's event, on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to Ms. Ayumi Nochi, PhD, for sharing her expertise, and Mrs. Vania Pramudita Hanjani, SOS MSE, for moderating the session, and to all faculty members and students for your active attention and engagement. We hope you found this session meaningful and insightful. Please don't forget to fill in the attendance and feedback form through the link provided in the chat. Once again, thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you again in our next event. Have a great day ahead. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya and warm greetings to all. Thank you.